Good afternoon, everybody. I hope I can be heard at the back. Today's proceedings are being broadcast on the live stream, but only after a 15-minute delay. Those with recording devices, mobile telephones, may use them to transmit what they hear in the hearing room to the outside world, but only after 15 minutes have elapsed since the event that they're reporting. They may not be used for recording or photography. Mr. Barr.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lambert, can we now move to Detective Sergeant Coles, please? Did you at any time give Detective Sergeant Coles any advice, whether as a colleague, as a mentor, or as a manager, about sexual activity undercover?
I don't believe that I did.
Not a topic of conversation at all?
Not that I can either recall or, I think, it's difficult, but difficult to be certain, but I can't recall it.
Can we have up, please, 745796? This is not in your bundle, sir. It's come from the Tranche 2 bundle and Mr. Coles's documents. This is a document, a branch note from the 22nd of July 1994 about Operation Borehole. I'm going to give you a moment to look at those three paragraphs on the page, please.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a document about effort to locate Barry Horn, which include cooperating with McDonald's, cooperation between Special Branch and McDonald's to establish 4 observation posts.
Yes.
Can you, and it's whilst you are serving as a DI in the SDS, can you recall any knowledge or involvement with McDonald's cooperating for the purposes of monitoring animal rights extremists?
No, not that I can recall.
Were you aware that Special Branch was in touch with McDonald's with a view to working together to protect McDonald's from animal rights extremists?
Well, I can't recall. I would imagine, I wouldn't be surprised if there was, but not that I can recall.
Well, this document is evidence of such cooperation.
Yes.
And
yes.
Can you help us with whether the SDS as a unit was involved in cooperating with McDonald's either directly or indirectly?
Well, certainly not directly, and there's nothing that I can recall beyond that I was aware of.
Was there any discussion within the SDS about the campaign against McDonald's?
I'm sure there was. I can't recall any specifics.
And the SDS would have an interest in obtaining intelligence about animal rights activism targeted at McDonald's?
Yes, of course, yes.
Was there discussion about Matt Libel?
Quite possibly in the same context.
Can you clarify what you mean by in the same context?
Well, in the same subject area, but I've no recollection today.
We may come back to that later on. In the meantime, can I ask that this document is taken down, and could we have up please 245657? This is a note for file dated the 8th of November 1995, bearing your name and rank. It's tab B117, sir. It's about the difficulties that have arisen with the need to move DS Coles and his family.
Yes.
Give you a moment to look at that, please.
Yep. Yes. Thank you.
So we've seen documents relating to a number of forced moves arising from threats to SDS undercover officers.
Yes.
What appears to be different about this one is that, as was not uncommon in the mid-90s, Mr. Coles was in negative equity.
Yes.
Am I right to understand that this was a particular problem for accounting purposes, in that paying for someone to move is one thing, clearing their negative equity is quite another?
Yes.
The other interesting thing about this document is it refers to the Home Office. There is reason to be optimistic that the Home Office will authorise the payment of some £30,000 odd to clear the negative equity. Would I be right to infer from that reference and the context that because of this was an exceptional situation financially, the Home Office had been contacted?
That seems, I mean, I don't recall that, but that's definitely the clear indication.
What can you recall about the difficulties that Mr. Coles's negative equity presented?
I think that I first discussed it with him before I rejoined the unit as DI, in other words, as a mentor, but that precedes this particular note. So yeah, I was certainly aware of it. I met him and his wife. Really, in my position, I didn't.
Well, I can
sorry.
I can stop you there because I'm not particularly interested in the mentoring side of it. What I'm interested in is, can you assist us with how it comes about that there's reference to the Home Office in this document? In particular, can you help us with who approached the Home Office and why?
I can't. I think if I mean, the first question, was it me? I doubt it somehow. I did speak. Yeah, I mean, one way in which it could have been me is this reference here, F3.1. Now, it could be that the person there, F3.1, sort of, that role, that person might well have told, given this indication to me or to DCI Edmondson, perhaps.
Can we just be clear? Is F3.1 a police person or a Home Office person?
Oh, a police.
Is it?
person.
Is this on the finance side?
Yes, yes.
There is reason to be optimistic. What was the reason to be optimistic that the Home Office would authorise it?
Well, that someone, whether, and it obviously may not have been F31, that someone had spoken directly or indirectly to someone in the Home Office about the case, and came away with that view.
Are you able to help us one way or the other as to whether or not the Home Office was directly approached to solve this problem?
No.
Was Coles's negative equity cleared?
I believe that it was.
Where did the money come from?
Well, I don't recall, but I would assume, and reading this, that it would have come to us from F31, but I have no clear recollection.
Could we take the document down now? Can we go to 527597, please? This is the SDS Tradecraft Manual. You have said in your witness statement that DS Coles proposed to write a note for the benefit of others, and you agreed to that course of action.
Yes. I think at the terminate, or shortly after the conclusion of his field work.
And Detective Sergeant Coles agreed with that proposition when he gave evidence. If we have, we can bring it up if necessary, but my understanding of your witness statement is that you read his work?
Yes.
And can I take it, therefore, that before it was made available to SDS UCOs, it was a document that you had read?
Yes.
And you approved its use?
Yes.
And if we go, please, it's tab B15 of your bundle, to page 27 and paragraph 5.6. Paragraph 5.6 under the heading Sexual Liaisons. Do you need a minute to read this section, or is it familiar to you?
Yes. Yes. I'm happy for you to carry on. Thank you.
And so this section was part of the document that you approved for circulation to SDS UCOs?
Yes.
Such that it would be read by them and could influence their conduct?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Such that it could be read by them and influence their conduct?
Yes.
What did you think of DS Coles's advice as set out in this section?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was useful for field officers to be aware.
Did DCI Edmondson read it before it was circulated?
I imagine, I would think that he did, but...
What was his reaction, if any, to this section?
I can't recall today, no.
If he'd had some sort of violent reaction to it, do you think you'd remember?
Quite probably.
In due course, what was DCI HN 58's reaction to the Tradecraft manual?
Oh, who?
HN 58. DCI Edmondson's
Yes,
successor.
yes. Well, I don't honestly know because, I handed over to him in '98.
Not 53, 58. Your DCI.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. Yeah, sorry. Well, nothing that I can recall today.
We're going to come back to this, but just for a moment, can we take that down and can we have up your witness statement, 36956, at page 61? Could we have paragraph 85.3? It's a long paragraph, but I'm going to give you a moment to refresh your memory as to what you put there. But what I'm interested in is the effect of this paragraph that the SDS managers had a laissez-faire attitude to sexual relationships, a hands-off attitude.
Yes, a hands-off attitude would be fair.
But it was always open to them to come and consult you if they had a problem.
I wouldn't say that. I think that's a separate consideration.
It says, and left to raise any problems or issues that they needed to air at the twice weekly meetings or one-to-one discussions, from which I've taken that if an officer wants to speak to you about that sort of issue, they can.
Okay, yeah, fair.
So against that background, can we go back to the Tradecraft Manual at 527597, page 27? Thank you. Page 27, please. And if we could have paragraph 5.6.1 expanded. That paragraph concludes by saying, while it is not my place to moralise, one should try to avoid the opposite sex for as long as possible. What follows by way of advice is completely amoral, isn't it?
Could you just repeat it, please?
What follows by way of advice is completely amoral, isn't it?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Right,
understand.
I'll come back to that when we've got a bit further into the detail. Was anybody looking at this issue through a moral prism?
I don't think it was. I can't quite see that it was amoral.
It wasn't quite my second question. My second question was, anybody considering the morality of what you were doing?
Well, I suppose not that I can recall today, but I'm sure, I think the important point is that this is D.S. Cole's thoughts. It's not, it's not policy. We know, I think,
his thoughts which you had approved for circulation.
Again.
His thoughts which you had approved for circulation.
Yes.
Can we move to the law? Because although there is mention here of morality, there is no mention of the law. Did either, to your knowledge, D.S. Coles or yourself apply your minds to whether or not there were any legal issues arising from circulating advice to officers which were, in some circumstances, permissive of sexual relationships?
Well, I can only really speak for myself. I think I did, and I thought that this contribution was appropriate or helpful. It was just one officer's view. It didn't reflect or the whole. What shall we say? The whole issue.
Let me test this with an extreme example. If D.S. Coles had produced some guidance in the Tradecraft Manual which recommended murdering other people, you would have done something about that because it's unlawful, wouldn't you?
Yes.
What thought did you give to the legality of the sort of conduct that Coles was advocating in this section?
Well, today I readily accept that I gave insufficient thought to it.
Did you give any thought to it?
At the time?
Yeah.
Yes, but...
what thought did you give?
Well, I honestly can't...
Did you give any consideration to whether it was misconduct in public office?
No.
Did you give any thought to the torts of deceit, misfeasance in public office, or negligence?
Probably not.
Presumably, if you had directed your mind to legal issues, you would have sought advice.
Yes.
And as far as we can tell, we've found no evidence of legal advice being taken. Is it right that no legal advice was taken?
No, I don't believe so, no.
It would have been a good idea to take legal advice, wouldn't it?
Yes.
The other thing that doesn't get a mention is professional discipline expressly. Did you address your mind to the question of whether or not the sort of conduct that D.S. Coles was advocating would amount to professional misconduct?
No.
Can we go to paragraph 5.6.3, starts at the bottom of the page but goes over the page? Give you a moment to refresh your memory of that.
Which, right. Could have it a bit larger? Yes.
I'm going to start with those sentences which deal with the proposition that you could try to introduce an appropriate male or female from your own relations or friends to meet the wearies on a few occasions, and for that being fraught with difficulty, but something about which the officer should make up their own mind about how to proceed. So this is a suggestion by D.S. Coles that an untrained member of the public participates in an undercover police operation as some sort of relative or pretend partner. That could generate risk to them, couldn't it?
Yes, yes,
And risk to the SDS operation.
yes.
Why did you permit that sort of advice to be circulated?
I think because it would be understood, or at least my intention would be that it would be understood by new recruits, new recruits really, who would have the opportunity to read it. They would be told that this is just one officer's perspective, and they were encouraged to speak to and consult input, tradecraft input from a range of officers, not to rely on just one.
The bottom line, Mr. Lambert, is that you have approved the promulgation of guidance which suggests at their own discretion an officer can decide to use a relative or friend as some sort of prop for their cover.
Well, I honestly think in the context of my role and other managers' roles at the time, there's no way that a recruit would see this as something, that seems like a good idea. All that could happen is that a recruit would seek views from other officers, and indeed with us as managers.
Forgive me, Mr. Lambert, it doesn't say consult your managers about how to proceed. It says make up your own mind about how to proceed. This is reckless advice, isn't it?
Well, if it was taken at face value, potentially, but at the time I don't think I would have had any concerns that any recruit would just read this and act upon it. I honestly don't think that would ever have happened.
If we move on now to the text that follows, if you have no other option but to become involved with a weary, you should try and have fleeting, disastrous relationships with individuals who are not important to your sources of information. One cannot be involved with a weary in a relationship for any period of time without risking serious consequences. The phrase, no other option, that means, doesn't it, if it is necessary to maintain your cover and necessary in order to remain in the field and obtain the necessary intelligence. For the transcript, you're nodding, is that fair?
I'm sorry. Yes, yes.
And it's advice to the effect that officers, if they need to have a sexual relationship, should manipulate the course of those relationships so as to be fleeting and disastrous. Doesn't prohibit long-term relationships, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It just cautions that if it's with a weary, you risk serious consequences. It doesn't prohibit any form of sexual activity with non-activists, does it?
No.
In fact, on the contrary, it encourages sexual liaisons with people not important to the sources of information.
Yes.
In other words, making a considered decision to enter into a deceitful sexual relationship with a chosen victim.
Yes.
Why did you permit this to be circulated to your undercover officers?
Well, I can see clearly now that it was inappropriate. At the time, I think I was just a bit lax in letting it go through and to be read by officers in training.
Was one reason for allowing this to be circulated that you considered the importance of the SDS's work to be such that it would justify this sort of conduct?
No, I don't believe that was the case.
Well, that would be a reason to permit this to be circulated, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Another reason might be, were you completely blind to the consequences for the deceived partners, the deceived activists or people not important to sources of information?
Not completely blind, but not sufficiently mindful and concerned about that.
What consideration did you give to the fact that these relationships would inevitably be deceitful?
Well, I don't hope I'm not just repeating a previous point, but I genuinely had confidence that in context that this piece of tradecraft advice would be very well balanced by the contributions, if not written, then verbal, from some of the influential people in the field who would have given a very different account than the one we're reading here.
Did you know what other officers were saying to your UCOs on the question of sexual relationships?
I would, at the time I would have had some clear indication. I wouldn't have sought to be privy to those sorts of discussions, but there are officers that I can be certain would give recruits a very opposite view.
This inquiry has heard evidence of advice being given, for example, to the effect that a sexual relationship was inevitable. Were you aware such advice was being given?
I've heard it. At the time, I can't recall. It's possible.
And would that have surprised you in any way?
It would depend on the context.
If it was, for example, animal rights?
That would be, and other areas where, where we talked in terms of lifestyle.
I don't want any specifics in this next question, just a yes or no. your undercover police officers were overwhelmingly male.
Yes.
So it follows that those who would be sexually deceived by your undercover officers would be overwhelmingly female.
Yes.
And what is conspicuous about this guidance is it completely ignores their bodily autonomy and their emotions, doesn't it?
Yes.
That's a form of misogyny, isn't it?
It almost certainly is.
And because it forms part of a manual circulated to undercover police officers, it's institutionally so, isn't it?
It would appear to be that way as you describe it today.
It is also, isn't it, a betrayal of your officers' wives and partners.
Potentially.
You feel like animal rights virtually inevitably, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
And it will have encouraged those who read it to behave completely inappropriately, won't it?
It could have done, but actually from what I've heard, probably not.
Well, it's certainly the case that we've heard from officers who breached even these circumspections, but it nevertheless sets a permissive atmosphere, doesn't it?
Yes.
And consequently, it contributed to the harm that's been done to women deceived by your officers.
Yes.
What the Tradecraft Manual should really have done was to have positively stipulated a complete prohibition on sexual relationships with members of the public in an officer's undercover identity, shouldn't it?
Yes, that's true.
Did DCI Edmondson pass any remarks on this section?
Not that I can call to mind.
Did his successor, DCI HN 58, remark on this section at all?
Again, well, he may well have done, I don't recall.
DCI Dell told UCOs that they must not have sexual relationships in their undercover identities. Were you aware of that?
Not at the time, but I've certainly become aware of that.
When you say not at the time, are you saying you did not know when, I appreciate you're no longer a DI in the SDS, but you still have some contact with the unit in his era. Are you saying you did not know that he had verbally prohibited sexual relationships?
Well, I certainly would have heard, during his tenure, I'm sure I would have heard.
Did you draw to his attention the inconsistency between the line of his instruction and the content of the Tradecraft Manual?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that I didn't. I don't recall any conversations with him. On this topic, no, certainly on this topic, no.
Can we take this down now, please? Sorry, can we move page? Can we have page 28 and paragraph 5.7.2? We're moving on now to what it says about involvement in crime. If you need to see paragraph 5.7.1, please say so. Would it be fair to say that the message that is being conveyed in these two sub-paragraphs is forget about confidential memo 4, in practice, follow management advice?
I think be mindful of both.
Certainly, using the phrase, the above sentiments are laudable, but the boundary between right and wrong in the SDS arena is never as clear-cut as the provisions of Con Memo 4 would have us believe, is envisaging that you might need to go beyond what's permitted with confidential Memo 4, isn't it?
I'm not sure that it is. I think it's right to highlight, the difficulty, but the advice is good to, make sure you consult or get advice from your managers.
But in terms of playing no part in planning an incident and taking a minor part in the crime itself,
Right.
Isn't the gist of this advice is, in an SDS context, that is not possible?
Yes, but, I think at no time can you instigate, counsel or procure others to commit a crime. He is underlining confidential memo 4, I think.
It's not really underlining it so much as he is saying in an SDS arena, you really have to be prepared to do more than that, but speak to your managers. Because as we know from your deployment, dilemmas arise, don't they?
Yes, of course.
Can we go to page 36 and para 7.3.5? This is a section on animal activists. Give you a moment to read that.
Yeah, read that, yeah.
And this is the SDS reality, isn't it? If you're infiltrating people who are claiming actions in the name of the ALF, you're not going to get anywhere if you're a shallow paddler.
That's correct.
And you are going to have to think about taking part in illegal direct action in order to build up your credibility.
Yes.
With the ultimate aim of providing intelligence of importance in relation to a serious crime.
Yes.
And as the last sentence reflects, without getting your hands dirty, your chances of correctly identifying an ALF activist is very low. That's suggesting you may have to get involved in direct action just to get a seat at the table.
Yes.
And that dilemma is something that would have been very familiar to you as a result of your deployment, and very much advice, presumably, that you agreed with.
I wouldn't say that I agree with all of it. And incidentally, in fairness to D.S. Coles, what I think I'm reading is some published version of his contribution to the Tradecraft Manual. I don't know, and the document that I'm more familiar with in my bundle, I think, is his draft, and on his draft you actually get my one or two edits and that, and so he's more.
As edited, this is the edited version. As edited, did you agree with it?
Yeah, yes. Well, I can. Yes, I agree with it largely, not completely.
And isn't the reality of the phrase, at every action there is a real chance of being arrested for a criminal offence, you take the risk of shortening your tour quite dramatically if you are caught? In the context of the whole paragraph, this means you are going to have to get involved, but just don't get caught.
Yes, fair enough.
Can we take that down now, please? Did D.S. Coles ever say anything to you to suggest that he might have engaged in any sexual activity undercover during the course of his own deployment?
No, he didn't.
Are you sure of that?
I'm fairly sure. I should say, to the best of my recollection, he never did.
Did you ever ask?
I can't recall. I doubt it.
Why do you doubt it?
Because I didn't have. I should say more clearly. I chose not to. I can try and explain why, but for now, if you like, I would say I'm pretty confident that I wouldn't have asked him a direct question.
Why did you choose not to?
Because I had an approach which I've set out in my statement, which was to not to address it. I couldn't address it really without being something of a hypocrite, given my own track record. I didn't want to encourage it, but
are you saying you had some knowledge that he was?
Oh no, I'm not. Sorry, I'm not referring. No, I had no knowledge at all. I'm just trying to explain what was, what I described in my statement as this hands-off approach, which I believe most of my fellow managers had. It obviously now I can see it was completely sort of inadequate, but it's a long way from actually either endorsing or promoting sexual relationships.
Was the reality, and I'm thinking now of the questions I asked you this morning about Mike Blake and the attitudes we saw there, was the reality that it just didn't matter to SDS managers one way or another whether or not their officers were involved sexually?
Clearly, it's not difficult now to see that the guidance, the training was inadequate. There was
not quite the question I've asked
No,
you.
sorry.
Was the attitude that it just didn't matter?
Oh, was it?
The attitude that it just didn't matter?
No, it did. It mattered, but not. For example, an undercover officer's conduct towards all their all members, male or female, of their target groups, their conduct always, I believe, had to be respectful. So there was a sense of a great, I think across the field, that women activists had to be respected,
Mr.
which
Lambert,
might sound...
if I may stop you there, if it had mattered, you would have asked, wouldn't you?
I'm not sure if that follows, but I accept now that it was not adequate.
And if it had mattered, you would have prohibited it.
Well, I can see that I should have done. I didn't see that at the time.
And it only mattered, like any other activity by one of your UCOs, if something happened which threatened the integrity of the operation.
I wouldn't go that far. I think that field officers were, for their own safety, they had to be respectful to women in this way we're looking at it.
Well, you're asserting. If I may stop you there, Mr. Lambert. You've asserted a number of times that officers were under an obligation to be respectful. We can't find that anywhere in the Tradecraft Manual, can we?
No, because it's just one officer's experience.
And we don't find that in any other written guidance about the SDS ever promulgated, do we?
Well, no, I don't think we will. But I would...
You have said that you were worried about being a hypocrite. But surely if you were thinking about your own sexual conduct undercover, in particular having fathered TBS, you would have been telling officers not to get involved, and you would have been asking in order to make sure that they weren't, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And the truth is, you weren't bothered. It didn't matter, because all that mattered was the SDS operation.
Well, I wouldn't accept that entirely. I'm sorry.
What qualifications would you like to add?
No, no, I can't really today offer any qualification.
Can I move now to Detective Sergeant Morris? And I'm going to use this as an opportunity to ask you some general introductory questions about the operation of the SDS. Would you generally have seen intelligence reports?
Yes.
And you would have spoken to DS Morris regularly?
Yes.
And know what he was up to?
Yes.
As a result? And that would apply to all of your undercover officers?
Yes.
In terms of the dissemination of intelligence out of the SDS, were you the decision maker or the overseer? You see the two different roles, the decision maker or the overseer of those decisions as to what went out of the unit and what stayed within the unit?
I think that I was neither one of those. I think the intelligence reports generally went from the DS to the DCI, most times without any input from me.
What was expected of Sergeant Webb in his role working on reports?
Yeah, he was the report writer. He would convert raw intelligence from an individual field officer into the final product.
Was that role one which was simply copying out by rote, or did it involve Sergeant Webb exercising his critical faculties?
The latter.
In what respect did Sergeant Webb have to exercise his critical faculties?
Probably numerous types of editing, but generally just wanting to ensure that it was clear.
How did you, when you say clear, was he required to edit the content in terms of deciding whether material should be left out or included?
It'd be a case-by-case judgment.
How did you supervise Sergeant Webb?
Well, I can't recall specific examples, but we worked closely together.
Did you set standards for him?
I don't think that was any part of my role.
Did you ensure that he met standards?
I probably did in an informal way on occasions, but as I've said, probably in the vast majority of cases, the reports probably came to me after the editing process.
So you're saying you would only intervene if there was some very obvious reason to do so?
Well, I was most of the time I would have been there to offer advice if he needed it.
He describes a purely administrative role. Does that understate his responsibilities?
Well, in one sense, it's spot on, isn't it? In one sense, administrative.
And in another sense?
It's a big responsibility for sure.
Why is it a big responsibility?
Well, it's a final report that is then it's going to go generally to the DCI. If he's not there, then it comes to me, and then it goes out to whichever customer. It was a very responsible job, and he was, in my experience, he was very skilled at performing it.
When you say they'd come to you when the DCI was away, that was for signature.
Yes.
And as I'm understanding your evidence, you would often see reports anyway, and you'd read reporting anyway, even if you were not signing it off.
Yes.
And reports were required to be accurate and professional.
Yes.
Or should have been accurate and professional.
Yes.
When a UCO had an issue, were you often the first port of call for them?
When who was...
When UCOs had issues?
Yes.
And was that because of your prior experience?
Well, I was, often I'm sure, first port of call, perhaps not always. And I think it would have just first and foremost been after a matter of weeks or months, as I got into the management role, really being as available and receptive as I could be, and employing, good listening skills and so forth.
If I can stop you there. Were undercover police officers required to report specific crimes that they had witnessed, by which I mean when they saw a crime, were they required to report it?
I don't recall them having any specific requirements. Well, that one, this is a specific requirement, and I don't recall it, no.
Would they be expected to if they saw a serious crime being committed?
Yes.
Would there be any threshold of gravity at which you would expect to see them reporting, or was it not as formalised as that?
I can't recall today, except by thinking it would have been a case-by-case judgment.
If Officer A sees activist B committing a crime of violence, would you expect that to be reported?
Generally, yes.
And so if there's a dearth of that sort of reporting in what we've recovered, can we properly draw their inference that there won't have been that sort of violence?
I don't think, certainly even at the time, I don't think I would have been confident. No, forget that. Today, I can't be confident that what remains extant of SDS reporting, that it's sufficiently complete for us to be able to make that conclusion.
Can we move now from the general to the specific, and can we have up, it's a UCPI number, 33068, please. This one I don't have a tab reference for, so it's not in the bundle. When it comes up, this is a report dated about an event on the 11th of November 1993 entitled "On the Borders of a Police State," and it's a Hackney Community Defence Association meeting. I'm afraid we're sufficiently far back in time that we don't have very good copy quality. Can I give you a moment to refresh your memory of that? And please, would you pay specific attention to the mentions of Mr. Michael Mansfield, Queen's Counsel, as he then was?
Yes.
We see at the bottom of that report that Mr. Mansfield has a registry file number 405/76/32. Am I right to understand from that Mr. Mansfield has had a registry file open on him since 1976?
Yes.
And the content of the report is to the effect that Mr. Mansfield was the main speaker at this event, and that it was encouraging the working class to challenge police powers through defence committees like the Hackney Community Defence Association. Is that fair?
Yes.
So an entirely lawful political speech.
Yes.
Were there any limits on reporting on lawyers?
No, not that I can recall.
In what circumstances would a lawyer get a registry file?
I honestly can't. I can't recall.
Would they be the same as anybody else or different?
I would. Well, yes. It's hard to say. It's hard to say now, really.
I'm none the wiser, I'm afraid, for that answer.
No.
Were the rules the same as for anybody else, or were they different?
I can't recall.
What was Mr. Mansfield's reputation within the Metropolitan Police Service at this time?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. What was Mr. Mansfield's reputation within the Metropolitan Police Service at this time?
Well, I think he had a formidable reputation. I think I have a recollection that he may have come to the police training school to assist with the training and the sort of courtroom performance of detectives.
A witness to this inquiry has said that his reputation was to the effect that he was viewed as the devil incarnate.
Yes, I have read that.
Was that sentiment or an equivalent sentiment one that was held in certain quarters about Mr. Mansfield?
Well, obviously not the not the officers that invited him to the training school. But no, I don't know where that phrase came from.
Was he regarded as anti-police?
I think within my experience, he was regarded as an advocate, and who would speak, obviously speak at events such as the one that's being reported on.
And did the fact that he was an advocate who was speaking at a left-wing event advocating challenge of the police something which made him of interest?
I do beg your pardon, I just missed the last bit.
Was the fact that he was an advocate who was speaking at a left-wing event about challenging the police something that made him of interest?
No, I don't think so.
Why is he being reported in that context then?
I can't recall today. Well, what I can obviously say is that, that this is a report from one of our field officers at the time, who is, at least as we understood it at the time, he was legitimately deployed against his target group. He was at this meeting in the course of his duties, and he's reported a meeting. The report, in one sense, is not. It's not intended to suggest any special branch interest in Michael Mansfield.
Except that the fact it's already got a registry file is noted at the bottom.
Well, that's, yes. And what even sort of, he's had it for what, sort of about 20 years.
And the fact he's advocating on behalf of community defence associations such as Hackney's.
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield has had the privilege of being involved in very, very many high-profile cases, but perhaps amongst the most high-profile of those was acting for the Lawrence family.
Yes.
Which had started by this stage, but went on for many years. Did the fact he was acting for the Lawrences affect his reputation within the Metropolitan Police Service?
Well, that's a big question. In my role at that time, I certainly didn't have that that view.
What was your view?
Well, that he was doing his job, no more.
And how did that change during the course of the Lawrence inquiry?
What, my view?
Yeah.
I don't believe it did. I don't.
And what was the view of your officers as expressed?
I've no recollection today.
Amongst them was the man who described him as the devil incarnate, or being viewed as the devil incarnate. Are you saying there were no opinions expressed about Mr. Mansfield whilst you were detective inspector in the SDS?
I can't rule it out, but I'd be very surprised if. I can't begin to think that it was ever a major, that he was any kind of talking point.
Can we take this document down now, please? And can we have up, it's another UCPI number, 33349. This is about a report on the National Assembly Against Racism's meeting of the 4th of February 1995. I'll give you a moment to look at it, but you will see that Dr. Neville Lawrence was a speaker.
Yep.
Looking at the markings, this appears to have gone straight to the security service, is that right?
Yes.
Why would a report on an event like this go straight to the security service?
Well, because they had an interest that we'd been made aware of.
This is if we go to this is the inaugural meeting, paragraph 1, you can see, of the NAAR. It's attended by very many groups, isn't it? Including the Labour Party. And it's about, if we look at paragraph 2, filling in a gap post the anti-racist alliance's demise. It's not surprising that activists, legitimate activists, would wish to discuss that, is it?
No.
The speakers set out at paragraph 3 include a number of members of Parliament, Diane Abbott, Harry Cohen and Bernie Grant, as well as the TUC's General Secretary. And it submits a leaflet, paragraph 4, about a forthcoming march. And if we go to page 4, we see the leaflet about the march to challenge racism. And again, there are members of Parliament due to speak. This is all entirely lawful protest, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's, I may have slightly misstated the position, it's Neville Lawrence who's due to speak. He's down as one of the speakers in the 10:30 to 12:15 session. It's not about crime or disorder, is it?
No.
The references to the Socialist Workers' Party are minimal and unsurprising, aren't they?
The
References to the SWP, if you want to go back and look at them, you can. They're on
Well,
page 1,
yeah,
paragraph 2.
but sufficient to explain and justify why the SDS field officer was present.
Attempts by representatives of the Socialist Workers' Party and the ANL to influence the meeting and to swing any votes were resisted. That's the bottom of paragraph 2.
Yeah.
Is it your evidence that the SDS thought it was appropriate to attend a meeting at which members of Parliament were speaking, at which the Labour Party was represented, at which a number of peaceful protest groups were represented, simply to keep an eye on them to see whether the SWP could influence them?
Well, my reading of this last sentence, paragraph 2, is that was why there was an SDS presence. If I'm assuming the SDS field officer is infiltrating the...
It's Detective Sergeant Morris, so he is infiltrating the SWP.
So he is there with his target group, and it would have been quite common, and certainly it would have been accepted by us as managers that really wholly appropriate for him to be there with his group, who were, as he's seeking to influence the meeting. I accept that as he reports, their influence was resisted. But
if I stop you there, and if we can zoom out, this is a report about an assembly against racism. It's about organising an activism in the cause of anti-racism, isn't it?
Yes.
Is the reality that there was an underlying concern that racism was a particularly incendiary issue?
I don't think there's any underlying concern. Yes, it was an incendiary issue, but you know, the officers reporting, you know, he's reporting accurately, it seems.
And is the reason that this was of interest really because it is about the incendiary issue of race and keeping tabs on what is happening in anti-racist activism?
Well, he hasn't gone as again. I mean, it's not for me to say precisely. He may well have already said, but as a rule, it was very commonplace for an SDS field officer to be present at a meeting such as this, where you have, you know, 90% or more, you know, 99%, whatever, of peaceful protesters. But he is there, I think, as we saw it at the time, reasonably and legitimately with his group.
The SWP, I'm sure, would say that they too were peaceful protesters, militant perhaps.
Yeah, but again, as you know, Trevor Morris was, you know, as always, was targeted towards the more, you know, the more extremist end.
Can we take that document down now, please? And can we have 245156? This is a report about the Brian Douglas campaign dated the 6th of June 1995. If we could look in particular, please, at paragraphs 1 and 2.
Yes, thank you.
So this is about a forthcoming demonstration due to occur on the 10th of June of that year, being organised by the Brian Douglas campaign, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's about the SWP's and Militant Labour's plans to send black members to join that march, isn't it?
Yes.
Not about crime or public disorder, it's about Trotskyist groups trying to recruit more black members, isn't it?
Yes.
Why is that important to the SDS in 1995?
I don't know how important it was. I can readily understand how and why the officer, Trevor Morris, is there. Then I suppose your question talks to us in the office about why did we issue it as an intelligence report? And I think in a case like this, if it was sent to C Squad, if it was of no interest.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
Was it because the SWP and ML were both groups with, so far as you were concerned, subversive intentions?
That the SWP
had subversive intentions? Is that why you're interested?
Intent.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Was there a concern that some black people were susceptible to recruitment at a moment of disaffection?
I can't recall anything beyond what's been reported.
I'm asking you about the context. Is that the context in which the SDS is gathering intelligence of this sort, that the concern is Trotskyist groups are getting in amongst black protesters when the black protesters are disaffected because of what happened to Brian Douglas and are seeking to recruit? Is that what it's about?
Yes.
Why couldn't black people be left to themselves to deal with the far left?
Well, I think that's a question that goes well beyond the SDS remit. The SDS report here comes straight from Trevor Morris's deployment, and we report it. We're not. I don't think the SDS is making any judgment about why this is happening.
The result of this approach, though, is that campaigns such as the Justice for Brian Douglas campaign become the subject of SDS reporting.
Well, only to the extent that there is, if there was no, if there was no interest from the groups that Trevor Morris was reporting on, then there wouldn't have been any SDS interest.
Well, we may have to come back to that proposition, but for the moment, so would that be a convenient time to take the afternoon break?
Certainly. 15 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Could we have up, please, 245170? Mr. Lambert, this is a report dated the 9th of June 1995 about a meeting that had taken place 2 days earlier on Wednesday, the 7th of June 1995. It's again the Justice for Brian Douglas campaign and preparations for the march on the 10th. I'll give you a moment to read that. If we could have 1 to 3 expanded, please.
Yes, thank you.
This is again a meeting of many different political groups about a forthcoming demonstration.
Yes.
Reporting on the tensions between them.
Yes.
And this one does refer to the risk of public disorder, but it's clear, isn't it, that the organisers of the meeting, the Douglas family, want a peaceful protest, don't they?
Yes.
Was any consideration given to the proportionality of reporting on a peaceful justice campaign, family justice campaign, or not? Is there any consideration given to the proportionality of such reporting?
No, I don't think that would have been considered by us in the SDS management team.
Was any consideration given to the possible consequences of it being discovered that Detective Sergeant Morris was a police officer acting undercover?
Yes, not perhaps just or specifically in relation to this event, but of course that was a very important consideration for the management team on a regular basis.
Quite apart from the normal concerns that arise with the security of your UCOs, isn't an additional concern here, is it, if it had been discovered that the Metropolitan Police Service was using a black undercover police officer to spy on a black justice campaign, it might have provided the spark that would have caused the very disorder that you were trying to prevent?
Well, yes, I think we would have been aware of that, but of course, you know, I'm sure this is I'm sure Trevor Morris, if he hasn't already, would say, highlight that, you know, this was not him targeting the Brian Douglas campaign. Far from it. He was there with his target group, which we understood to be legitimate, none of which reduces the risk that you've highlighted.
Can I take it that whatever else, SDS management thought that the risk was worth the reward?
Yes.
And the reward was understanding the machinations of the Justice for Brian Douglas campaign?
Only in the context of the officers' deployment, which of course you've heard directly from the officer.
If we could take that down now, please, and have up 245218. Moving to a different campaign now. This is a Joy Gardner campaign. This is a report of the 23rd of June 1995 about a meeting on the 21st of June 1995 at which Dr. Lawrence spoke. see at paragraph 1 that it's held at the Wood Green Civic Centre, and the report details the racial mix of those attending, the age distributions, and the social stratum from which they are drawn. Do you see that?
Yes.
Why is D.S. Morris reporting for you on the racial mix of those attending, their ages, and the social stratum from which they come?
I can only suggest that, he was reporting on the meeting. He's giving a full picture of the meeting that he attended.
And there can be no cause for concern on the public order front from that demographic, can there?
No.
If you go to paragraph 2, I mentioned that Dr. Lawrence was a speaker, but if we have paragraph 2, we'll see a list of all. In fact, it must be. Oh, thank you. You'll see a number of other speakers. There's Myrna Simpson, Brian Douglas's brother, a chaplain from the Church of England's Commission on Racial Abuse, Solicitor Jane Coker, Dr. Lawrence, and Bernie Grant, MP. And the document at paragraph 2, it's a long paragraph, goes on to deal with what each of them said. Why is the SDS interested in a meeting with an entirely unthreatening demographic related to a justice campaign with speakers like that?
Because, number one, the officer was, there's no realistic likelihood that he went there on his own. He was there with his target group.
Well,
and
if that's right, why is it being written up and reported?
Because I think it helps the readers to understand, what Trevor Morris's target group are interested in and how they are looking to have an influence in this whole arena, as you said.
If I may stop you there, you don't need an undercover officer to tell you that the Socialist Workers' Party is going to be interested in a racial justice campaign, do you?
I think you probably want to be aware of, the context, that what he's reporting on here.
And you don't need to know what Jazzy B has said at this meeting if you want to keep tabs on the SWB, SWP.
No, it's not essential.
And yet this is a very long and detailed report going into what every speaker from a very wide range of backgrounds has said. Can we go to the source comment at the end, please? You'll have to go over the page. Thank you. Let's look at the source comment. The way that comment is organised is that front and centre at the start is information about the campaign, isn't it?
Yes.
The fact it's a campaign with the right skills and presence behind it. It's attracting middle class and older members of the community, people who might have more influence, aren't they?
Yes.
And it goes on to talk about how well particular speeches were received, and only towards the end of that paragraph does it go on to deal with the SWP's message and how that is going to be strenuously resisted by Mr. Jasper and others, doesn't it? It does paint a picture of the interest being primarily in the potency of the justice campaign, doesn't it?
Yes, but, hugely useful for a readership that will be looking to make an assessment for policing of an event here, and like any planning for any public order planning, if this provides a degree of reassurance that extremists are unlikely to be able to cause trouble or to hijack an event, then...
You're interested in more than that, though, aren't you, Mr. Lambert? You're interested in the potency of the justice campaign per se.
No, I don't think so. I honestly don't think so.
And is that because race is an incendiary issue, and the more momentum a campaign gathers, the more trouble that might cause the Met in one way or another?
I can see that, but I can also recall the SDS interest and in particular here. I mean, Trevor Morris was always very clear about what his role was. I mean, he would, if there was any suggestion that the SDS was targeting a real family justice campaign, he would have not been he would not have been able to accept that.
Can we go back and look at paragraph 2, please? And looking at the end, you may have to go over to page 3. And over the page again, please. This is a demonstration that is going to require some, it says, it's the second paragraph of the source comment. At this early stage, it seems entirely feasible that a figure of at least 5,000 can be generated for what will be a highly charged, emotional, but well-stewarded demonstration. Anything short of highly professional and sympathetic policing may well provide the SWP with the opportunity it seeks to encourage and exploit a violent reaction leading to serious public disorder. It was a statement of the obvious, wasn't it, that a demonstration like this would need to be well stewarded?
I don't think we can safely say that. No, sorry, and perhaps I didn't fully. Can you repeat the question?
It's a statement of the obvious that it would need to be well stewarded and well policed.
Right. Well, the question of policing, I think Trevor Morris would have made this comment, I think, knowing that it was crucial for the policing to be as aware as as he wants them to be.
That's not quite the point I'm trying to put to you, Mr. Lambert. The point I'm trying to put to you is this would have been obvious to anyone organising the policing of this demonstration, given its subject matter.
No, sadly, perhaps not.
And it was a demonstration that was going to be assiduously stewarded by responsible activists, wasn't it?
Yes.
Why did you think you needed such a detailed report about the campaign if the public order element of it is really sensitive but straightforward?
I think it was of its time. I think Trevor Morris is reporting diligently on a meeting. I think we can be absolutely clear about why he was there, and perhaps you look at it now and you quite rightly, it wasn't a lot of the detail was not essential, and perhaps it could have been edited down. It wasn't.
Can we take that document down and have 72241 up, please? This is a report dated the 8th of July about an event organised by the SWP, Racism and Resistance in Britain Today. If we look at the first paragraph just to set the scene, please.
Yeah.
And so we see it's part of a series of Marxist meetings and debates, and the main speakers include a Member of Parliament, Mr. Grant, and the subject matter of racism is described as being of particular pertinence because of the Douglas Gardner cases and utterances of Sir Paul Condon about black street crime. So a febrile atmosphere so far as race relations are concerned.
Yes.
But this meeting itself, an entirely political event. If we look at 3 and 4, please, paragraph 3 and 4. These are the paragraphs about Bernie Grant's speech. I'll give you a moment to look at those.
Yes.
Why is the SDS interested in a politician's speech?
Interested only in the sense that it's taking place where it is at the time it is, and Trevor Morris is attending a meeting legitimately with his target group. This was the world that he was living in. It gives readers the content of the meeting. Yes, it was not it was not in any way problematic, but I don't recall specifically whether and to what extent any thought was given to, not disseminating the report.
Was it because this was an elected politician of some influence locally who was giving a talk about racial justice issues at a time when the atmosphere was particularly febrile?
Well, I'm sure that would have been part of the context, and good context and background for those officers that are going to be potentially responsible for preparing a risk assessment at a future date on related demonstrations.
Was Mr. Grant regarded as a conspiracy theorist?
I didn't catch the question.
Was Mr. Grant regarded as a conspiracy theorist? I'm asking because the report reads, Grant then embarked on a tour of conspiracy theories, saying that some sort of hidden curriculum was working to stop police-community relations improving.
And the question is, what was
Mr. Grant regarded as a conspiracy theorist?
I don't know that. I obviously can't recall the basis on which it's reported in those terms.
Can I take it that there was no guidance within the SDS to your officers as to any limitation on reporting on elected officials?
No, not that I can recall.
And was there any guidance within Special Branch more widely?
Not that I can recall.
Can we take that document down now, please? Can we have up 728969, tab B100, sir? This is the SDS's annual report for 94-95. If we can have page 5, paragraph 3.4. The top of that page, it says DS Trevor Morris, SWP, Hackney branches, A&L and associated anti-establishment groups and ethnic minorities in East London, transferred to Tottenham branch of SWP in January 1995. Why was DS Morris moved from Hackney to Tottenham in January 1995?
I think I may have read something about this recently, but I can't recall now.
Was it because the temperature of the Joyd Gardner campaign was heating up as a result of the trial and acquittals of the officers who had been charged arising from her death?
I can't say. I wonder if I got a feeling Trevor Morris spoke to this or has written about it in his statement, but I can't recall, I'm afraid.
You have talked about the world in which DS Morris was mixing and is reporting resulting from that.
Yeah.
You and DCI Edmondson decided which world he mixed in, didn't you?
Yes.
Are you putting him into a world where, through the SWP, he can report on a wide range of anti-establishment groups and ethnic minorities?
I can't confirm that or suggest it. I'm sure he does talk to the transfer to Tottenham branch. I mean, that may or may not have been a management direction. I can't recall.
You are in charge of the day-to-day management of the officers, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's your decision where they go. I appreciate it may be taken in consultation with the officer, but it's you are in charge, aren't you? Along with the DCI.
I think the DCI is going to make decisions on actual deployment, but there's any number of reasons why Trevor Morris might have changed his branch.
The result is he is in a position to report, as we have just been through, on a wide range of different racial justice campaigns.
Yes, and none of which should obscure his central focus and the sense in which, like all SDS field officers, an awful lot of work has to be done, which is not central to your main purpose, your objective. And I think with Trevor Morris, you see what his central long-term purpose was at events such as the Welling...
Well, if I can stop you there, because that was years earlier. And are you really suggesting that the febrile atmosphere in North London as a result of the state of race relations wasn't of interest to the SDS?
No, I'm not.
And isn't the reality that you are using Trevor Morris through his infiltration of the SWP to spy on a wide range of justice campaigns?
No.
Because you are concerned that the atmosphere is febrile, the temperature is high, and there may be problems of one sort or another?
No, I think not. I think that, and I think Trevor's was absolutely clear and he wanted to be clear because this was very important to him.
And
that he was only targeting elements that were seeking to exploit genuine family campaigns.
And you're using a black officer through the SWP to monitor events within a wide range of justice campaigns, to monitor their potency and the atmosphere within them.
I think always, I'm sure, always from the perspective of the target groups. And when you see names on a piece of paper like this from a management report, it doesn't really quite do it justice. And you know by now very well what Trevor Morris was doing. And along the way, yes, he writes reports which, in and of themselves, you think, well, this is innocuous. Why is an SDS officer covering it? But we know why he was there, and it was crucial to him, to his sense of worth, his own concerns about racism. He wouldn't have stayed on the unit if he wasn't happy that black communities were being treated in the right way.
There is a common theme about the families in these reports. The Gardners, Douglases, the Lawrences, they are all against disorder, aren't they?
Yes.
These family justice campaigns should not have been the subject of SDS reporting, should they?
I'm not sure. It's insofar as Trevor Morris and of course other officers, other SDS field officers, given that that they were able to help prevent disorder and to help in important respects to inhibit the efforts of groups like his target group to foment disorder.
How does spying on campaigns who are dead against disorder help you to prevent disorder?
I don't accept that any field officer was spying on a justice campaign.
That doesn't answer the question. How does reporting on justice campaigns that are dead against public disorder help to police public disorder?
Well, I think we've seen it in at least one of these reports, haven't we? The ability to help, if you like, a positive risk assessment, or a risk assessment that says the risk of disorder is low here, as well as there's a high risk.
You only need a uniformed officer to speak to the family before the demonstration to find that out. You don't need an undercover police officer, do you?
Yeah, but insofar as you need as well, you need intelligence to find out what let's call it, the extremist side. You need that, and if the officer who is targeted against that, is able to provide a lot of context along the way, that's not spying on a family group.
Was there a lack of trust in these black justice campaigns such that they needed to be spied upon? Was there a lack of trust in these black justice campaigns such that they needed to be spied upon?
Well, I can't speak to whether they had that.
Let me help you.
But the more important point, I can't accept that that Trevor Morris or any of the others were spying.
I'm using spying in the sense of reporting on, which we've seen plenty of. Let me put it another way. Was there a sense that these campaigns were anti-police?
Well, again, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you can have a group, individuals and groups that Trevor Morris was targeted against. They were anti-police.
I'm talking about the justice campaign.
I know you are, but I just wanted to contrast it. What Trevor was doing and what he experienced was groups and individuals that were anti-police to the bone, and with a political purpose, whereas the anti-police attitudes that Trevor Morris was only too well aware of were very, very different. They were based on, they arose from incidents with the police that explained that anger. And I think already that Trevor Morris was, he shared a lot of that anger, and he would not have done this work if it wasn't properly targeted.
Can we take that document down now? I'm going to move on to a completely different topic. Could we have it's a UCPI number 29708, please. This is a report dated the 18th of January about events on Saturday the 15th of January 1994, when there'd been a concerted effort by the ANL and YRE and AFA to disrupt a far-right music concert. So if we look at the top right of the document, we see again this is Detective Sergeant Morris's reporting. If we look at page 4, the top 2 paragraphs are what I'm particularly interested in. If you need any further background, just say so. But the left-wing demonstrators have arrived in Beacon Tree. The gig has been cancelled, and it's what happens next that I'm particularly interested in.
Once the group arrived, yeah.
So I'll give you a moment to read that.
Yeah.
And
Right.
in particular to concentrate on the Red Express.
They're into... Yes, okay, yes, thank you.
On the day, were you in any form of control room watching events on CCTV?
No, I'm pretty sure I wasn't. I think I would remember that, and probably would have written about it. I certainly remember it, but
Was any member of SDS management, and I include sergeants in that definition, in any form of control room watching events on the day?
well, I think I have read something quite fairly recently on that. I can't quite...
What is your recollection?
No, well, from the... no, not really any clear recollection, no.
The plan to lay on the Red Express presumably would have taken some planning.
Yes, yes.
Are you able to help us with whether SDS intelligence led uniformed police to anticipate a problem and undertake the necessary preparations to lay on the Red Express?
Well, the first bit, I mean, I can quite readily anticipate that there could have been SDS intelligence sanitised by C Squad and disseminated outwards. Can readily see that, but I don't... The Red Express ploy, I doubt whether... I think it'd be very unlikely that SDS had any direct or even indirect involvement in that.
Do you have any recollection of it?
Only from... well, yeah, I think, I knew about it, I heard about it at the time, I'm sure. If this is Trevor Morris's report, there must be a good chance that... no, I'll leave it there. No, I don't. I'm fairly sure. Well, I am sure that I wasn't sort of deployed as often I was out for duration of an event.
If you weren't there, we can go to the next document. If we take that down, please, and have up 722654, please. This is a 1993-1994 SDS annual report. It's tab B46, sir. Once we've got it up, could I have page 45, please? now. This is heavily redacted, but if we look at the block of text that survived redaction in the middle of the page, this is about that event. There was some disorder later in the evening, and whilst injuries were sustained by police, it is fair to say that the level of violence was much less than would have been encountered had police action been merely responsive rather than proactive. Did you have any role in writing that?
I'm pretty sure that I didn't, because I don't think I was, for whatever reason, I don't think I was deployed on it.
You don't have to have been deployed on it to be able to write it up in the annual report, do you?
Oh no, that's true. But now that you've reminded me, annual reports. I mean, I may well have helped, but really that was the DCI's job.
On what basis is it asserted that it was better for the police to have been proactive?
Experience, contributions from field officers that were involved.
The reason I'm asking this is we have had a lot of evidence from activists on that protest who describe being attacked by the police when they arrived at Earl's Court Station, sustaining in some cases significant injuries. Is proactive a euphemism for the police attacked the demonstrators first?
No, again, I can be confident that it doesn't mean that.
What does it mean?
Fair to say that the level of violence was much less than would have been encountered had police action been merely responsive rather than proactive. Well, it's fairly clear. But what's the basis of that assessment? The various insights that the SDS field officers had. I think it's okay for me to say, almost certainly from, both.
But let's not go into too much detail. Let's just stick at what you've said. If this is a euphemism for the police got in first because they were concerned about sustaining injuries, and that was on the basis of SDS intelligence, and if the position is that the demonstrators concerned were not as violent and fierce as portrayed by SDS intelligence, I want to give you an opportunity to deal with the proposition that exaggerated SDS intelligence about the left-wing activists on this day contributed to an overreaction by uniformed police at Earl's Court Station.
Well, look, you know that at the time the SDS would have been able to give a very accurate answer to that question, and I would think that that it would show the SDS involvement to be pretty positive and helpful to police. But if there was a level of police violence, I think it would have been, it would have surely, well, there's a good chance it would have come to the attention of at least one SDS field officer, and potentially, if we did have any sort of management cover, you mentioned the control room, you could have had a very clear answer either at the time or shortly. Obviously, I really don't think I was involved.
Okay, in that case, I'll stop there. Can we take that down, and can we have up 527076, please? If we go one page further to see, this is a collection of documents which is about Detective Sergeant Morris. Can we have page 9, please? See, your initials are at the end of this. This is about Detective Sergeant Morris's exfiltration. And can I invite you to read that substantive paragraph of text?
Yes.
What did Detective Sergeant Morris say to you that caused you to write the words, HN78 was quite emotional after a busy final week in which genuine and long-standing friendship had to be severed?
Well, almost certainly he exhibited the emotion of leaving close friends after 4 years.
Did he tell you that he had spent his last night under cover with a female activist who we are calling Jenny?
No, he didn't.
Did he tell you that he'd had sex with her?
No.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
Can we take that document down now, please? Can we move on to the question of care for Detective Sergeant Morris's well-being? By this stage of the SDS history, there was some written process about the safety and welfare of undercover police officers which had been introduced by HN86, wasn't there?
Yes.
Did you visit Detective Sergeant Morris's home?
Yes.
How many times did you visit Detective Sergeant Morris's home?
Over the course of his deployment, the 4 years.
Yes.
I would think only 2 or 3 times.
And were those for what purposes were those visits?
I suppose, welfare, as this example here, I can't recall any specific occasions.
Can you recall having any specific welfare interviews with Detective Sergeant Morris?
I think I hope it doesn't sound trite, but I think, every time I met him, there was an element of welfare.
I'm asking you specifically about formal welfare interviews.
Well, no, I think formal welfare interviews, I don't think they existed in that period.
Well, the reason I'm asking you is because the paperwork suggested they should have been happening, but the evidence we have been receiving from undercover officers is to the effect they weren't actually happening.
Yeah.
Can I take it that your answer a moment ago is to the effect that you agree they weren't actually happening?
That they, well, no, not really. I just think, it's difficult to pin down an informality, but if it was the case that informal welfare help, if that, I think if that was effective, it can, I think, and sometimes was more effective than something that was well structured.
Well, can I take it that the point you're making is just because there wasn't any formal welfare provision, it doesn't mean to say there was none at all?
Yes.
But it was ad hoc and informal?
Yes.
Can we move now from Detective Sergeant Morris to Detective Sergeant HN1, please? Could we have up on screen, it's an MPS number, 730114. It's tab B151, sir. This is a file note. It's dated the 20th of May 1996. Give you a moment just to look at this first page, but once you're ready, I'd like to go over to page 2.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you.
And if on page 2 we can have, I'll give you a moment to look at it all, but I'm interested in paragraphs 4 and 5.
Which, they're not numbered, so...
So the 4th and 5th one down, the one that begins DC Mick Moss.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yes.
And if we could go over the page and look at the top of page 3, please. And then once you've looked at that, if we could zoom out and look at the update section and the first paragraph of the update section, please.
Yep.
This is a device, isn't it, to bolster HN1's cover?
Yes.
And what you are doing is you are arranging for a search warrant to be obtained from the magistrate's court so that HN1's cover address can be searched in order to make it look to his target group as if he is a genuine activist of interest to the police.
Yes.
And that involved misleading the magistrate's court in order to get a search warrant on a false basis.
Yes.
And it involved misleading the arresting officer. Was any consideration given to the fact that you would be interfering with the normal course of justice in those ways?
Well, I think there would have been consideration, but clearly this course of action was followed, whatever the...
So not enough consideration to tell the magistrates or to tell the arresting officer?
Yes.
Because of the golden rule not to risk the operational security of the SDS?
Well, I don't think it's quite as direct as that. Case-by-case judgments, there are instances, I think, that you will have heard where an SDS manager has divulged information to...
I'm asking on this occasion why the magistrates and the arresting officer was misled. Was that to protect the operational security of the SDS?
Yes.
Was any consideration given to what would have happened if HN1 had been charged?
I can only recall what I've read briefly just now. I think, there would have been, from my point of view, look, this is a course of action, and seeking guidance and instruction.
Whose idea was this ruse?
Well, I don't remember, but I think clearly I could well have helped to put the idea together. I don't know.
Excuse me. You've got a lot of experience of infiltrating animal rights activists as a result of your deployment.
Yes.
Are you borrowing tactics and experiences from your deployment to assist HN1 to maintain cover and swim deeply?
Quite possibly, even probably, but I don't think it would have been in sort of isolation. I think there'd be quite a lot of expertise available.
But this has echoes, doesn't it, of what happened to you when you were deployed? This has echoes of what happened to you when you were deployed?
Yes, of course.
So, my question is are we seeing here your experiences being put to use to protect HN1?
I'm sure, to some extent, yes.
Can we take that down now? I want to move to Jeff Shepherd now and the intelligence that HN1 was providing about Jeff Shepherd, and in particular the events that lead to Mr. Shepherd being arrested and convicted of serious offences. From your witness statement, we understand essentially you are saying you have no recollection of HN1 reporting to you that Mr. Shepherd was in possession of a shotgun, but you have no reason to doubt HN1's evidence that he did communicate that fact to SDS management before Mr. Shepherd was arrested.
Yes.
Can you help us as to how it comes to pass that if SDS managers had been told that Shepherd had a shotgun, that the police who went to arrest him were unarmed.
No, that is a question that I find myself asking, and I can't explain.
On its face, it gives rise to a risk to the officers, doesn't it?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Was an assessment made that Mr. Shepherd was extremely unlikely to use the weapon on police, and that on balance it would be better for the operational security of the SDS that uniformed police were not told about the shotgun?
Well, that sounds obviously plausible, but I have no recollection of it.
Can you recall any conversations with HN1 about improvised incendiary devices?
No, no, I can't.
Did HN1 seek your advice as to how to proceed dealing with Jeff Shepherd, a man with whom you had had considerable dealings?
I think, well, number one, I think obviously we would have discussed Jeff Shepherd perhaps, when I first rejoined the unit, and I was learning about his role, and but I think at the same time I was always quite conscious and careful not to burden him with my own time in the field.
Did you discuss with him how to strike the balance that we were looking at earlier today when it came to direct action in order to swim deeply enough to be accepted and trusted by serious activists?
I'm sure I will have done, and when HN1 gives his account to this inquiry about how he went about it, yes, I could see that he was achieving the right balance.
Did HN1 ever report to you or to anyone else in the SDS that there were plans to lay down an incendiary device on the 27th of May?
I don't know. I'm sure that he didn't.
Did HN1 ever say anything to you about what Jeff Shepherd was intending to do with the shotgun?
Not prior to the arrest.
And after the arrest?
Well, I've read SDS reporting recently that presents a post-arrest state of affairs. So I'm familiar with that.
Did he ever tell you that Mr. Shepherd was intending to use it to shoot Professor Colin Blakemore?
No, I not that I've no recollection of that.
This was an important event and an important deployment for the SDS, wasn't it?
Yes.
in your subject matter expertise.
Yes.
Can you give us a picture, as events were developing, of how closely you were working with HN1 as he is infiltrating people who appear to be planning offences to be claimed under the ALF banner?
Yes, I think I would have, I would have given him encouragement to develop the friendships that he was doing, and encouragement. I can't honestly recall any specific detail now.
HN1 gave some evidence about approaching you on the question of sexual relationships. You deal with it in your witness statement, and you say in your witness statement, I may have said that he would have to resolve it himself in a way to ensure no suspicion arose as to his true identity. That's your evidence from your witness statement. If you wish to be reminded of the full context, I can bring it up.
Okay, yes, please.
If you could have 36956, page 109, paragraph 190, please. Let you read that.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah.
Did you ever ask HN1 whether he was engaged in a sexual relationship?
No.
Did he tell you?
No, he didn't.
HM1's evidence is that his relationship with Denise Fuller was known about by SDS management. You sure you didn't know about it?
I am sure.
Is this another example of you deliberately not asking?
Well, I don't know how much it how much it relates to that. Is it? But that clearly, clearly that was the approach that I think I'm fair to say, by DCI Edmondson and myself at this time. I think that was, that was our approach, not to encourage and not to seek. We did not ask these direct questions, rightly or wrongly. Obviously wrongly, I know now, but that was...
If we look at the bottom of that page, where you think that you might have said he would have to resolve this himself in a way to ensure no suspicion arose as to his true identity, that falls some way short of telling him not to get involved sexually, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
And it leaves open the door for HN1 to get involved sexually if he thinks it's necessary to further his operation or protect his cover.
Well, I can see that potential.
And form a relationship he did, as we now know.
Yes.
Did you suspect at all?
I think over a course of time, I obviously, I knew what the risks would be, but no, I did not have any, and there was never any occasion that made me think or realise that he was involved in a sexual relationship.
Is this another example of you giving guidance or improving guidance which leaves the door open for sexual relationships which you don't follow up because to you it does not matter one way or the other whether or not HN1 is in a sexual relationship? What matters is that he's advancing his operation and keeping the SDS safe.
Well, I can obviously accept today that was a consequence, and at the time I think I just did not, I did not really address, I knew what the risks were for obvious reasons of the likelihood, and I'm afraid it was just simply possible for me to deal with my responsibilities as I saw it, operational security, and I neglected this issue.
The ends justified the means.
Beg pardon?
The ends justified the means.
Yes.
So would that be an appropriate moment to rise?
Certainly. We will resume again at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Will you be here promptly to be able to resume
Yes,
your
sir.
evidence?
Yes.
Thank you.